Good afternoon, everyone. This is the E3 special of the Entertainment Room and the last one of the year until about October-ish when we'll be back. Let's talk about E3. Starting with the Microsoft conference because that was what came first, I think. So, what did you guys think of the Microsoft conference?
I was very happy to see more of the Outer Worlds content. I love the Outer Worlds. I'm very much looking forward to that. I think if there's a good video game developer that's left out there, it's definitely Obsidian.
Oh yeah, without a doubt, yeah. Microsoft, I think, in my opinion, had the best conference because you had the Outer Worlds, you had Cyberpunk, you had Keanu Reeves. Okay,
yeah.
That's going to be a whole topic in itself. But oh my god, it was a really really good start to E3.
If Keanu Reeves is not romanceable in Cyberpunk, I am going to riot.
So, I actually thought it was kind of like backwards because the ones I was most looking forward to were Bethesda and Square Enix, and then it turned out those two were actually fairly bad.
Yeah.
And the best one was Microsoft, which I really had low hopes for, and they really pulled through this year. I think they might have taken advantage of Sony's absence.
Yes.
I mean, they just announced so much because obviously you had Outer Worlds gameplay, you had more Cyberpunk, you had Keanu Reeves, you had obviously Star Wars Fallen Order wasn't as great. But, you had more news on that. And then, of course, you had the new console, which that was really taking advantage of Sony's absence because, that just completely absorbed all the conversation. Like, oh, my God, this is amazing. And they finally made it clear that this is about games, not like the Xbox One where it was like it can do everything except play decent games because we don't have any. So...
And it feels like they've taken a bit of an advantage because they've teamed up with PC now and they announced Lego Star Wars, the Skywalker Saga. So this is basically going to have like all the Lego games from like all 9 movies all on one disc, and they're going to release that. But it's just for Xbox and PC.
No, it's coming out for PlayStation.
Are you sure? Because when I looked it up on E3, it was just saying Xbox and PC.
No, Wikipedia says it's for PlayStation 5. I think they probably didn't mention it being for PlayStation because they weren't there.
Yeah, okay then. That's coming out soon. That's coming out in 2020. I didn't get a exact release date for that though. So
it's so long to wait though.
But that's so exciting because think about all the people whose like childhood was playing Lego Star Wars. That's just it was
some of my best memories.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think for me, the one I'm most excited for is the Outer Worlds because that's coming out in October of this year. So that's really, really close. And it just looks so like New Vegas-like.
Yeah, I had like a really bad feeling that it would be in like development hell or something because how Obsidian's been struggling for a little while. And I'm so surprised it's even coming out this year, and it looks really good. And obviously it's Obsidian, so the writing's going to be like top notch, and we're supposed to get like multiple different endings and stuff.
Maybe being brought up by Microsoft was a blessing in disguise for Obsidian.
Yeah, I'm not even worried about the Outer Worlds at all.
No.
Because it just looks good. We know it's like going at a good pace. There's no hint that maybe it's being rushed or anything. It just looks like it's all going well.
Yeah, it kind of it looks like a bit like Fallout in space. It kind of looks like the Fallout universe if it had been like expanded.
What I like about it is it's like Fallout with actually good combat for once. Obviously like Fallout 4's combat was a lot better, but like New Vegas's was a bit
It's just Fallout in space, really.
Yeah, well, they were kind of building on Fallout 3, which was even worse with combat because you couldn't even aim down the scope.
It was, oh my god, that was so bad. So they had to work with what they could get, but now it looks like they've actually got the resources. They're not attached to that god-awful engine, which Bethesda will just stick to forever. And you could do some really cool stuff. The combat, you could see... That is one of the few trailers we actually got gameplay for, which I was really excited for. And you can like freeze time and stuff, and yeah, it just looks really, really fun.
So is it like open world and then you can travel between different planets?
I'm not sure because they mentioned a planet name. I can't remember it off the top of my head, but maybe it's all on one planet. I'm not sure.
If it is all on one planet, then why are they calling it the Outer Worlds? I think it is on different planets because from I've read of it, the main area for the main player base is their ship.
Okay. That makes sense.
Which is where you store all your items and your inventory and all that. So I think it would make sense for you to be able to travel between planets.
But yeah, so I think moving on to the next one would probably be Cyberpunk, which, Jess, I know you're the biggest fangirl
man.
for ever.
So I've been really looking forward to this for like years, and they've been working on this. I think it was since 2013. When did Witcher 3 come out? 2015.
Yeah, about then.
Yeah, and then it was roughly after they'd finished working on that we got a teaser trailer for this, and then we got absolute like silence from there on, and then a few years, two or so years ago, we got another trailer, just confirming they were working on it. And then last year we got a gameplay. But since I have had some concerns because Cyberpunk has apparently been in a bit of like a production mess at the moment. But according to sources on this, Witcher 3 was in the exact same place. It was like a mess when they were trying to pull it together. And obviously the controversy over the crunch has come out. Apparently people working on the game have been like doing overtime and stuff, and workers have been really like pressured into this. And those that came forward and talked about this said that the production reminded them a bit of Anthem in how like messy it is.
That's not a good thing to be compared to.
Not really.
So I was really concerned, and then the hype is back on because at the Xbox conference, they showed the trailer, and we got this. It was a cinematic trailer, so I was a little bit disappointed because I would have expected to see more gameplay at this point. Because according to CD, they say they've changed a lot since they first showed the load of gameplay last year.
It was playable though, wasn't it?
Was it?
I think so. I think I did read something about it being playable at their booth.
I'm not
could be wrong.
I'm not sure. I'm not going to confirm that just in case that's not true. But yeah. So they showed a trailer. Then right at the end, we had a little reveal of Keanu Reeves in game.
No one predicted.
No.
Did not see that one coming. He was in the game, and then as they finished the trailer, he came out onto stage.
Stole the entire conference.
The audience was going absolutely mental.
He said that we're all breathtaking.
Yeah. He basically said he was asked to work on it, and he told us a little bit about the game. It's going to be the storylines are based around body modifications in this kind of like world, and you play a character that's like in the underground who like works in crime and stuff. And I think from the gameplay from last year, they've got like some kind of storyline going on with this like health insurance company, so it kind of like taps into that a little bit. I'm not sure what it's about, but I'm really looking forward to it. It looks great.
They did have gameplay, but I think it was only for a select few. IGN did an article on it that I've just seen. Apparently they were very cagey about details. So.
Okay then. And more details is CD worked with the people that developed the graphics cards that's been used for the PlayStation 5 to develop these screenshots of what it's going to look like on the console. And oh my god, it looks gorgeous.
Honestly, it just looks like a scene out of Blade Runner. It looks brilliant.
So yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. That they definitely stole the show. And we got a release date. It's coming out next year on April the 16th.
I absolutely cannot wait for that one.
Yeah, so all those jokes that it'll be actually released in the year 2077, well, it's coming out next year, so...
And this has been a good year for release dates, because in the past we've had games revealed but no release dates, whereas this year it's been release date after release date after release date.
Yeah, so that's been quite surprising. And what else was there from the Xbox? So we had Outer Worlds, which looks really good. Cyberpunk 2077, Lego Star Wars. Oh, there was another game called 12 Minutes, which looked quite interesting.
Oh, yeah, that was really intriguing. Yeah, quite an odd trailer, wasn't it?
Yeah, so even though the developers who made this make AAA games, it kind of looked a bit like indie kind of style, where it's like a bird's eye view of an apartment. And it started with this guy, and he's having dinner with, I'm presuming is his wife or fiance, and she's about to announce some news, and he's like, yeah, I know, you're pregnant. And she's like, what? How do you know? And he says, because this has happened before. And then he kind of says, right, so someone's going to break into the apartment. He thinks you murdered your dad, and basically he's going to attack us. And then lo and behold, they get a knock on the door, and someone storms in and attacks them both. And then all of a sudden we wake up again in the exact same spot like earlier on in the day, and the whole thing repeats itself. So it's another Groundhog Day scenario. We're getting a lot of these at the moment, but it looks really intriguing. So basically, as a player, you must find your way to break the loop using your knowledge of what's going to happen next. So you need to be able to like avoid repeating the same mistakes to break out of it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that one. I'm not usually one for puzzle games, but it looks really, really cool.
Yeah.
I hadn't heard anything about that, and I'm gripped already.
Yeah. It looks well. The way it's presented looked a little bit odd. It was in bird's eye view of the apartment, so
Yeah.
you're playing it like that. So I'm wondering how that's going to work out, and whether it would have been better to just have a regular first-person view or something. But
that was a bit jarring in the trailer, but I imagine it's so that you can notice little things happening everywhere to work out the puzzles.
I thought that's how everyone saw things. I'm seeing everything as a bird's eye view. Am I the only one who's doing that right now?
Yeah, so that's coming out next year, so looks good. Is that it for the Xbox conference?
We briefly mentioned Fallen Order, but we got that like 12-minute gameplay thing before E3, but then we got like another cinematic trailer, and I mean I feel like we were all quite hyped for that.
Yeah.
Before this, it's rare that we get less hyped the more we find out. But yeah, I guess let's get cracking talking about that.
So EA, for the past how long has this been going for? It's been about at least 5 years. They've been saying that single player games are dead. That they said single player games are dead. The way forward is to have games as a service where you pay to get more content and you keep paying to get more content, and then they'll add more content rather than just releasing the game as it is on release day. And then every single player game that was being developed for the Star Wars universe got cancelled. They were like, no, the audience do not want this. We're going to cancel it. Despite all these single player games around them getting so much success,
Any single player game was just instantly becoming the bestseller. You had Horizon Zero Dawn, you had Red Dead 2.
Yeah.
They were single player games and everyone wanted them. But EA were just firmly standing their ground.
God of War won everything this year in terms of awards. It just had them all, and EA was still saying, no, single player. No one wants single player games, guys. And then,
compare the hype for Battlefront 3 to something like The Outer Worlds.
Yeah.
Oh, exactly that. Yeah.
And then Battlefront 3, was it Battlefront 3 or was it 2? I can't remember. One of them.
I know, but Battlefront 2, but Battlefront 3 has been thrown around a lot.
Battlefront 2 did quite poorly in sales, and then Battlefield 4 or 5 did absolutely abysmal in terms of selling points because of the loot boxes controversy and the fact that you had to buy stuff to progress and stuff like that. I think they got like half of what they were expecting. So even then, they were like, no one wants single player games, guys.
Wait, they want loot boxes.
Yeah.
They want to gamble their lives away.
So, yeah.
Obviously, laws are starting to being introduced in terms of loot boxes, so they're kind of like sweating at this point.
Yeah, they lost their lawsuit, or at least cancelled their lawsuit against the Belgian Gambling Commission.
Yeah.
Because they said that loot boxes are gambling, so they shouldn't be included in video games, or at least if they are, they should be an automatic 18. So that they are getting worried now.
Yeah, so now that they're gonna release this game called Star Wars Jedi: The Fallen Order. And it's a single player game, and you play a pre-made character. I don't actually know much about the storyline because it's so bland that I just haven't concentrated.
It's set in the early days of the Galactic Civil War, so the conflicts between the end of episode 3 and the end of Star Wars episode 6. So when you've got the Rebellion and the Empire and they're fighting each other, it's set during the early days of that, in the aftermath of the Great Jedi Purge. And you basically play this Jedi Padawan who's lost his master, lost all his friends, and you're basically having out this small rebellion cell led by Saw Gerrera, who you will all remember as that one throwaway character that they introduced in Rogue One, who was in that one episode of Star Wars The Clone Wars that everybody supposedly liked.
Yeah, so that doesn't sound interesting.
No, not.
It's an interesting time frame, but they're just not doing anything with it. Like, think about it. You got this massive conflict. You're at the peak of the conflict between the Jedi and the Empire, but you're not really going to do anything because the best thing to do with that would be to let the players choose which side or put some nuance in it. But this character doesn't look nuanced at all. It's just like you were saying like earlier. It's like generic good guy, can't do anything wrong. and it's just that's not really good enough for such such like a conflicted time in the Star Wars time frame.
Yeah, I'm really kind of sick of the Star Wars games like tapping into the films, and like it kind of feels like a fan fiction because they've just written their own character and shoved them into the what's happening in the films, like they did with Battlefront 2. I always get Battlefront and Battlefield mixed up, so if I make any mistakes, like excuse me.
Can't blame you. They're the same game except one's in space.
Yeah, so Battlefront 2 did that, where you played a female stormtrooper and she was basically just like shoehorned into every thing happening in the films.
It was like a really similar time frame as well. So it's like they just abuse. Yeah, I mean,
she was like interacting with every character in the film. She was BFFs with Leia.
Like, just think about. I mean, HK and I will like go on about Knights of the Old Republic for years, but the best thing about them is that they're in a completely different time frame.
Yeah.
I mean, that's an understatement. It's set 4,000 years before the rise of the Empire.
It feels like rather than expanding on this absolute, it's a universe.
But see, that's the thing.
Actual universe.
Disney hate the fact that there's an expanded universe.
Yeah.
That's why they rebranded it as the Legends.
But it's like there's a whole world out there, and they keep on focusing on what's happening on in the films, and they could be developing their own like maybe like a planet and stuff going on there. This is Star Wars.
Can we just abandon the Skywalkers, please?
Just
there was
leave them
no
alone.
Skywalkers in Knights of the Old Republic, and it was brilliant.
Just go back to the Old Republic. Make us more content for that, for God's sake. We don't want an update every so often for the MMO anymore. We want an actual game.
Yeah, so basically we play this Plank, and he's got he's got the generic, cute droid following him around, which is supposed to sell toys. You got Forrest Whitaker playing Forrest Whitaker. Out of all the characters they could have taken from Rogue One, they decided to pick Forrest Whitaker.
Just give us Cassian Andor, because Diogo Luna is so nice to look at.
Yeah, I can't even remember what the character's name is, because it's just Forrest Whitaker playing himself. And he's guiding this kid as he's like getting revenge or something against the big bad Empire. And there's just the gameplay was just so boring. I feel like if the storyline's interesting, I think maybe they might have picked the wrong scene to do it in, because all it was this guy doing parkour like in a forest, and then he goes into a thing and the stormtroopers are like, oh, Jedi, kill him. And then we do all that, and then he goes up against the stormtrooper with a shiny sword thing, and he fights him, and then that's basically it with the gameplay, and it's just so boring.
See, I wouldn't mind playing as a pre-made character if that character was interesting and the story was really good and the gameplay looked really good.
But they can't even use that as a justification, because Revan.
Exactly.
Or the Exile, or Dragonborn, or whoever else.
Yeah, because everybody who's like knows the inside of this game keeps on saying the storyline's really good. So I think what they should have done is, while someone was playing the game, they should have had someone narrating it. What they used to do. Really describing what the character's actually doing.
That'd be cool. Yeah.
Rather than them just like running in a straight line and us saying, "Oh look, there's bugs now. Go and kill them."
Honestly, the way this is going, it's just making me feel as though it's just going to be another The Force Unleashed.
Yeah.
And everyone remembers how bad that was.
Yeah. So that was really disappointing, and I have a very strong feeling if this doesn't do well, EA are going to go, look, our single player game didn't do well. See, told you.
You don't want one. Here's Battlefront 3, lads.
Don't worry, we've got more loot boxes for you.
Oh.
So yeah, that was really disappointing, and also you can really tell that they don't use motion capture on the facial animations, because they don't have facial expressions.
No, they have facial expressions. They just look really, really pained.
Yeah,
They look off.
Yeah,
and that Wookiee character looks like he wants to die.
Yeah. So, that was such a disappointment, and I think we might have spoken about this last time when we talked about how we wanted to make our own character for this.
Yeah.
And you don't, you just play Plank. So
if you're going to make a character so dull that we can insert ourselves into it, they might as well have just been customizable, or at least do what they did in Assassin's Creed Odyssey, where you at least get to pick like a male or female one of the same character. That'd be kind of cool.
I mean, the best thing about Jedi Academy was that you could go to the dark side.
Yeah.
I didn't get that far in Jedi Academy. I was a kid when I played it, but if you go to the dark side, does that affect what happens in the game? Because as far as I was aware, like I think I was like a few missions in, like as a kid, Luke was fine with me going to the dark side. Like he didn't mention it at all. I just like murdered someone, and he was like, "Yep."
You go to the dark side and you turn all the other Padawans to the dark side, and
really?
then Luke doesn't realise why it's happening. So it's basically what happened to Luke in Star Wars Last Jedi.
Yeah, but Luke's just not very clever.
Maybe
Apparently.
he just shouldn't do Jedi academies. He's obviously not like made for this.
You think
No.
like space Ofsted would like shut them down? Like, so
Space
quickly?
off.
So yeah, that was the Microsoft conference, and it was surprisingly good, despite how we slated that Star Wars game. You know, the other stuff we talked about was really impressive. And
Oh, yeah,
definitely the
without a doubt.
fantastic.
Absolutely loved it.
Yeah, so straight after the Keanu Reeves reveal and all the audience standing up in their seats and applauding them, we had Bethesda.
Which at first seemed like it was like just going to be naturally amazing because you had Elder Scrolls 6,
Yeah.
but yeah.
So Bethesda have a lot on their belt at the moment. With the failure of Fallout 76, you'd think they would want to impress this year at E3, you know, to save their reputation.
Or maybe they thought that a better approach would just be to do nothing at all.
Maybe just like mentioning Starfield or Elder Scrolls 6, just saying, yeah, we're working on them.
Here's a screenshot.
Yeah, here's some concept art. Just
See that mountain? You can climb.
16 times to do that. So we thought they'd do that, but no, they started off by apologising for Fallout 76.
Great start. Todd said
Yeah.
sorry.
Todd came out, it was like, yep, Fallout 76 had a few bumps in the road.
That's an understatement.
Yeah, we apologise for that, but hey, it's going to be free for a week, so there's that. And then he disappeared, and we had Elder Scrolls Blades, the mobile game, which no one's looking forward to.
It's already out in the US and it's doing horrifically.
Yeah, I don't see how a mobile would be able to like play it, because my mobile freezes up like quite a few times when I'm trying to play a game.
My phone freezes up when I'm playing Doodle Jump.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know why they thought a phone would be capable of that unless you're using like a PC phone. So that was a disappointment as usual. Also, why isn't Elder Scrolls Blades out yet? Because they showed that last year and it's a mobile game.
I'm pretty sure it is out in the US.
Oh, is it?
Mm.
When did it come out?
Let me just have a look. See? Keep talking.
Surely it doesn't take a year to develop a mobile game.
You'd be surprised. It's like Pokemon Go was in development for so long.
That's a bit different though, because they had to get all these locations sorted. For
Yeah.
them.
True.
But yeah, it just seemed like a really weird move for Bethesda to start with a mobile game and Fallout 76.
Yeah.
That was just a really weak start. Todd was only there for a bit.
Yeah, Todd just came out and left, and usually Todd's the best thing about it because
Yeah.
he's quite charismatic for a chess, for someone that was on the chess team. So, and he has this way of talking about a game, getting you really hyped, making you completely forget about all the failures of Bethesda.
All
And
of
then-
his lies.
Yeah, and then as you're watching it, you're getting really excited, and then it's after the conference when you kind of think about it, you're like, hold on a minute, that was all lies. But yeah, he wasn't even there for that this year, and instead someone else came out to take the butt of this, and they announced DLC for Fallout 76, which would, drumroll people, bring NPCs to Fallout 76. And people actually cheered them for this. So they were like, yeah, so we're going to turn Fallout 76 into an actual playable game. And everyone was like, well done, Bethesda, you've done it again.
That was so easy to please the audience. I'm convinced there was just like a free bar on the entrance to this conference because whatever they did, like they could breathe and there was like just a hold for
Yeah,
applause.
as
Or maybe they
people-
just lobotomized them or paid them really well.
As people were walking in, they were like handed a shot.
In a way,
You're
though,
gonna need this.
if you're going to fix Fallout 76 in any way, because Fallout 76 has actually had the potential to be a really
I
good
was
game.
quite excited for it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it has the potential to be a really good game. So surely the fact that they're actually making the effort to fix it and bringing NPCs is a good thing.
The thing is, though, I really hate this culture of bring it out now and fix it later because
Yeah, I
it's kind of
suppose.
insulting to the people that bought it at full price at launch.
Yeah.
And and it also it also gives companies a free pass to release an awful game, say we'll fix it later, and then just never fix it like it looks like they might do with Anthem.
And also I have like a big feeling that these NPCs are going to be quite like poorly like put together. Like it was
Yeah.
something that they rushed through because I don't think they're concentrating that much on Fallout 76 now.
So
Yeah.
nothing like Nick Valentine.
Yeah, unfortunately. Fallout 76 is free now for a week, commencing when
Yeah.
E3 was. I think it was like 2 days ago. So you got 3 days left to play Fallout 76.
Elder Scrolls Blades has been released at various points as early access through iOS and Google Play, and they've kept having to re-release it to get more people excited and engaged and involved as they keep fixing all the problems.
Yeah.
Classic Bethesda.
I feel like we talked about this when we were talking about how gaming companies for some reason think we're interested in mobile games. I don't know where they've got the statistics for this. Or
They probably saw the Razer phone come out. The Razer phone, this really powerful phone that you can play games on without it heating up, and thought, oh, everyone has one of those now.
yeah, yeah. I don't know. Have they tested this on audience or something? Because all of a sudden, gaming companies seem to think that we want our games on phones,
Yeah.
but we don't.
It's probably they probably think, oh, not everyone can afford a Switch. People want to play games on the go, mobile games.
Yeah. So Fallout 76, that was a thing. And then after that, it was Elder Scrolls Online. Which one's this? Elder Scrolls Online.
Elsewhere.
Yeah, and then it's got an expansion where they've added dragons onto it.
Yeah,
this
that's
time.
elsewhere. That's
Yeah,
elsewhere.
An awesome cinematic trailer. Like, I mean, if Elder Scrolls Online does anything good, then it would be the cinematic trailers.
Oh,
They're
yeah.
so intense.
Same with Star Wars: The Old Republic, actually. Now you
Yeah,
mention it.
like whoever animates those should really do a full like feature-length film.
Movie.
You know, a bit like the Final Fantasy animation, where it was like animated a bit similar to that.
No, indeed. I think I play Elder Scrolls Online sometimes. It's okay.
Yeah, I mean they've really pulled through because when it first came out, apparently it was like practically unplayable, and they've really fixed it up, unlike what Bethesda are doing for Fallout 76. But they've really like fixed it up, and if it's got like 10 expansions now, so they've done Elsewhere, Morrowind, Somerset Isles. They've done the original Elder Scrolls Online, which is
they started with Online, then they went Tamriel Unlimited, so you could go everywhere except
Yeah.
Morrowind. And then they introduced Morrowind, then it was Somerset, and then it was Elsewhere. Those are the big ones, and then you've got the smaller ones that they release for free underneath.
So they did like smaller ones where it was like introducing dragons, werewolves, stuff like that. And so it's been doing quite well.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't play it in particular, but I can understand why people do.
I was my family friend bought it for me once when I finished my A-level exams, and I've played it a whole 2 times.
Yeah. And then they announced more stuff on Rage 2. I don't get that because I swear Rage 2 came out like a month ago.
Yeah, it's already out, isn't it?
I think
Yeah.
it's probably just an update or
Yeah,
something.
just
I
like,
don't know.
hey, this thing's out, guys. We've got something to show. I don't think Rage 2 looked very good personally, but
Yeah, it didn't really appeal to me. I'm not actually sure how that's doing right now.
yeah. Well,
so.
the first one I didn't like because you'd crash land on Earth and it's been destroyed. And some old guy would tell you to go places, which you go to on a quad bike, but it's not open world. So you'd just be going through this like fixed road for some reason and like to your destination. Then when you got there, every enemy was British. So it was like a thug with like a Union Jack on it, Union Jack on his like t-shirt and like a helmet, and he'd be like speaking in Cockney and like
Like we
swearing
all
at
do.
you. Yeah, so that was a bit odd. I was like, why is every enemy British? I don't get it.
What do they have against the Brits?
It must be like post-Brexit or something. So
I mean, if it's an American game, they blame us for the revolution.
Yes.
It's like it's like Star Wars. It's an American film, but the Death Star and the Star Destroyer are all full of British people. What is it, Lieutenant
I
Sebastian?
never noticed that before. Why is every enemy in Star Wars British?
We messed up that one time, guys.
Yeah.
So sorry.
Special relationship.
Yeah, so they've changed that to Rage 2, every enemy is a punk now. Little less offensive, but oh well. And yeah, that doesn't look very appealing. Then they came out of Deathloop, which has been made by the same people who did Dishonored and Prey. That looks alright, but it basically looks like Dishonored. If it looks like they wanted to release Dishonored 3, but because 2 did bad in sales, they were like, okay, we're just going to quickly change this up a little bit and we'll release that. So that's called Deathloop, and that looks interesting. And then the one that I'm actually really looking forward to is being developed by the people who made Evil Within, Tango Gameworks. And the woman that came out, the creative director, she's the cutest person
She
I've
really
ever seen.
is.
She was so bubbly and like
She has just captured the internet's heart.
She just loves her job, and you can tell. And
Yeah.
it's adorable. These are the people I want on stage, not like these PR suits people. I want people that like they genuinely
who are
care about their games.
People who haven't had any media training but are just
Yeah.
passionate about their games.
Yeah, so her name was
Tokyo.
Ikumi Nakamura, and she is the creative director, and she came out, and the game's called Ghostwire Tokyo, and she was on board. She was also the creative director of the first Evil Within, and so she's got quite a lot of games under her belt as well as that, and it looks really interesting.
I mean, moving aside from the game, these are all horror games, and
Yeah.
yet the creative director is a really bubbly
Yeah.
person. It makes you think that if you go a bit beneath the surface, what you're going to find. She probably has, I don't know, a fridge full of body parts or something.
Evil Within is really disturbing as well because it's set in the mind of a psychopath, so there's some really like weird stuff in that game.
It's probably her.
Yeah, she's just like, yeah, add some more gore in there.
I like how she said like it's spooky on the stage. It's like, yeah, that's an understatement.
So it's set in Tokyo. We don't know much about it. Basically, it looks like the Thanos snap. Like everybody's disappeared, and then there's some like weird stuff going on. So that looks really interesting. Also, I like how it's set in Tokyo because Tokyo is such a cool city. It's like the closest thing to cyberpunk we'll ever get, probably. So it looks really cool. And that doesn't have a release date or anything. One of the things I had to complain about this year at E3, there wasn't much gameplay. It was all just cinematic trailers.
And that's the problem because Microsoft started off quite well because we had like Outer Worlds. And it's like, oh my god, finally they realised we want gameplay. But it was just a lot of cinematic trailers, wasn't it?
Yeah, I have a feeling that might have been in the engine though. Was that engine graphics for the Outer Worlds?
I think that was actual gameplay.
Yeah,
because it looked like it. Yeah. And then even Jedi Fallen Order, we got some gameplay just before E3, so that was okay. But yeah, I mean, we didn't get a lot. I can't remember Fallout 76. I think we got a bit in Fallout 76. But
yeah, well, that's already out. So
that looks terrible anyway.
Yeah.
So.
I'm surprised they even showed that because the game looks awful. So yeah, we had Ghostwire, then we had Ubisoft. Is anybody interested in Ubisoft games? Because I'm not.
I'm trying to remember what was announced there.
They don't know how to make games is the issue. I
Yeah.
mean, just look at the Assassin's Creed series.
I think the problem is, if you're a fan of Ubisoft, that's great. Like if you like Ghost Recon 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, if you like Tom Clancy games, then yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
If you like Assassin's Creed games, they're great, but they don't really develop anything else apart from that.
They have their market, don't they?
Yeah.
It's like with Watch Dogs was obviously the big announcement.
Yeah,
there.
I was about to get to that. Yeah, so.
I haven't played the first two because it very much looks like a Ubisoft game, and they don't really appeal to me. But this one looks different, doesn't it?
Yeah. So Watch Dogs have had a bit of an issue in the past because they showed the first one at E3, and it was like the character was moving through heavy crowds and stuff and pushing their way through, and then you get to the actual game, and there's about like 3 people in the crowd. So that was one thing. And then they did The Division as well. That had another issue where as the gameplay in E3, they were like exploring. They were like, hey, there's a bridge over there, shall we go to that? And they were like, no, let's do that later. You know, the terrible actors they hire to pretend
no one
they're
talks
playing
like
the
that
game.
when they're playing on like online with their friends. No one talks like that.
Yeah, and then they see like a subway and they're like, oh, let's go in there. And they're like, yeah. So they climb into the subway and it's like really spooky and there's like stuff falling down from the ceiling and stuff. And then when you get to the actual game, that subway's not even accessible.
Oh my god.
So, yeah, Ubisoft have had issues in the past with how they've presented stuff at E3 and then when the game is actually released. I think also Rainbow Six Siege had an issue with this where the graphics were severely downgraded for the actual release. I think that's probably the worst example I've ever seen of graphics downgrades. But that was quite popular anyway. People still played it.
Oh yeah, people have a lot of fun with that.
Yeah, and then they showed Watch Dogs Legion, which is... Okay, so Ubisoft has said in the past they don't want to be political, yet Watch Dogs Legion is set in a post-Brexit Britain, and they're not subtle about it at all.
Oh yeah, it's like completely just like a criticism or parody of both like the divisions caused by Brexit and a lot of like the surveillance state reputation that London has, particularly to like the US. And it's you very much like, you know, when you go on a train, you always get those like I forget what the adverts are. Just like if you see someone,
If you see something that doesn't look right,
and you get
see it, say it, sort of.
like all those anti-terrorism ads. So if someone looks dodgy, you call someone, and you see those ads everywhere in like this version of London. So it's fairly political.
I mean, Ubisoft are a French company, so I suppose it makes sense.
I mean, I was complaining about this as we were watching this because we were in a group talk, and I was complaining how they've the accent was like really overdone. It was like a Cockney accent.
Yeah.
And it was like forced, and now I've kind of thought about it, and it looked like a caricature of London, and it looks like an over-the-top representation of it, which I kind of like the look of, because you don't play a singular character, you play like a good, I think there's about 20 to pick from.
I think they said 90 or something like
that.
Really,
90?
I think they said that like if you see any NPC, I mean, we're not sure how much truth there is in this, but apparently anyone you see you can recruit. Yeah, you're like in some kind of underground revolution going on, and then you can swap between like people within the revolution. And the ones they showed us this Cockney guy. He was like, "All right, governor," and then he was going around the place beating people up with a baseball bat. And then you swap to this grandma, this 70-year-old woman, and she like hacks, and it had like classical music going on, and she was like an over-top representation of like a posh Brit. She had like the Queen's accent. And then who was after that? We had a woman that was like in a kind of more like stealth situation. So I think they were trying to show us all the different variations of gameplay. So you had a guy where he was going hands on, he was beating people up. Then you had the old lady, and she was hacking, which is what Watch Dogs is about. So I'm surprised they didn't show us more of that. Yeah.
And then you had someone that was doing a load of stealth gameplay. So it looks like it's trying to spread across the board here in terms of what you can do, and I am a little bit concerned with the fact that they've spread it across the board, that maybe like they might be a bit underdone, like they haven't focused on one kind of gameplay. So
yeah, I mean it's a tall order to say that you can play as anyone, and that they all have their own recruitment quest, they all have their own passions and goals and reasons for being in the resistance. It's just like, is this just spreading it too thin?
Yeah, and Ubisoft have a reputation at E3, let's just say.
It's also working on the assumption that people in London talk to each other.
Yeah.
If there was a resistance in London, it would last 2 days and have 2 people in it, because no one talks.
Yeah, the Cockney guy jumps in a car and he's actually able to drive to places without being stuck in traffic for an hour. It's very unrealistic.
Maybe in this version they just kicked out all the remainers in London, so only the leavers remain. That's
so
why
about
it's so empty.
5 people.
Exactly, that's why it's so empty there.
Yeah, so that was it for the Ubisoft concert. They didn't show any Assassin's Creed games, because I think they've gone on a bit of a break, and rightly so, because they were just pumping out Assassin's Creed games like every year. It's hard to keep track of them all.
God.
Yeah, so and then what they did show was they got really like Assassin's Creed fans like pumped up, because they had the orchestra on there. They announced that they're going on tour, and surprisingly coming to the UK as well. I think it's like a worldwide thing. And then they just didn't mention Assassin's Creed after that. So I apologise to Assassin's Creed fans who must have got riled up at that point. So that happened. And then what was it after Ubisoft? We had
I think I've got Square Enix here and you were not a fan.
No, I stayed up till 4 a.m. to watch the Square Enix thing, because I was really looking forward to it. Because what have they got? They've got Marvel's Avengers. I think that's it.
So, also a lot of Final Fantasy, as you found out.
And Dragon Quest
11?
upon Dragon Quest. Yeah, Dragon Quest 11 for the Nintendo Switch, even though that's been out for 2 years.
For about an hour, they talked about Final Fantasy. I'm not a Final Fantasy fan, so I was just droning out at this point. I was like, I can't watch this. So they're doing a remake of Final Fantasy 7. Yes.
That's all they seem to do nowadays, though. They just keep doing remakes of old games.
Yeah. So they're doing a remake of 7. They're doing another expansion of 15, 14. I'm not sure which one they're on at the moment. Yeah, I think they're doing another re-release of another one. And it was just about an hour or so of that. I really wasn't bothered about this at this point. I was waiting for Marvel's Avengers, which they've been teasing for years, and we finally had a closer look at it. Then when they finally showed us, it was heavily disappointing. It looked weird.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't watch the whole conference, but I tuned in for that. I missed the beginning of when they were like talking about the trailer.
Yeah.
And from just seeing it, I honestly just assumed it was one of those Marvel mobile games that they do.
Exactly. It looks like a mobile game.
Yeah, so I wasn't too hyped for it. Then I found out it was actually going to be a console release, and it
doesn't look like one.
It looks kind of odd because, I mean, obviously the character models look a bit off, don't they?
Yeah.
But even then, like, the story's a bit odd. I mean, I'm kind of glad they're doing, like, their own one. But also, like, what I find weird is that it's like the original 6 Avengers, but then Hawkeye isn't there, and they just replace him with Ant-Man or something. Like, what's going on?
And then they kill off Captain America right at the beginning of the game, which is very disappointing.
The problem with this was that Sony released Spider-Man PS4 last year, and that was really good. People really enjoyed it. And I think the main pro that it had with that was that it based it off the comic books. It wasn't focused on the films. It was just going off the comic books, and it had like everything going on. Peter Parker was done really well. The graphics are great. The swinging was awesome. And also it was done by Sony, who have got a habit at the moment of making great exclusives. And then this was shown, and it just looks odd. I think people were expecting it to be like the Spider-Man PS4, and it kind of looks cartoonish as well.
Yeah. That was my... I wanted it to look at least somewhat realistic.
Yeah.
Like the Batman Arkham games.
Yeah, I thought the exact same thing as you, Rhiannon. I thought it was a mobile game when they first showed it. I was like, oh my god, this is going to be a cinematic trailer for a mobile game, isn't it? I was waiting for Square Enix to get like annihilated by the audience, and then no, that's actually coming out on console.
Yeah. And even the parts of those of that trailer that looked like it was gameplay looked horrific as well.
Yeah.
It was just so...
it looks kind of dull, to be honest.
It really does.
Yeah. And the character models, it was really weird. I thought they would base the character models off the comics like Spider-Man PS4 did. But no, they've kind of made their own that sort of look like the actors, but don't sort of look like the movie characters, but don't. They look like stuntmen of their movie alternatives.
So bootleg. Budget versions of them.
Yeah. It looks like they wanted to release an action figure, but there was copyright issues.
like Scarlett Johansson was like, no, you're not using my face. I've had enough of Marvel now.
Yeah, so you play a tarantula woman, steal a guy.
Captain California.
Yeah. Sir USA. And like you said, Hawkeye just isn't in it. They don't acknowledge him. They just pretended he didn't exist. And they were like, yeah, Ant-Man's the guy now.
It's like they were like, all right, who are the 6 main Avengers? Probably Ant-Man was probably there.
And ironically, though, Hawkeye is one of the best Avengers.
Yeah, I mean, I know like back then in like 2012's Avengers, no one really cared about him. But times have moved on. We like Hawkeye now.
If it's its Endgame, we like him.
And also the conference was really weird as well, because after they showed the trailer, they described more of the game, but they spent like ages talking about the characters. So like, you will play Thor, the God of Thunder. I was like, I really don't think you have to tell us who they are, because we get the idea.
It's like they had like a word limit to reach, like an essay.
You don't have to tell us about these people, we know. So that was really disappointing. I stayed up till 4 a.m. to watch that, and at that point I was just so tired, and I was just really critical of it.
I mean, because I didn't watch it at the time, but I look back, and the Final Fantasy stuff, like, they spent like way too long on that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I suppose it is quite a big release. Because I know there's like a million Final Fantasy games, but it's the remake of, I think, probably the most popular one. It's the only one as like a kind of casual fan that I really know a bit about. And it does look like they put like a lot of effort into it. Like, it does look really, really good.
Well, this has been in production for about 7 years, I think.
Yeah.
I don't want to confirm that because it might not be true, but it's been in production for a lot of years.
Yeah.
And yeah, so they've finally released it, and Final Fantasy fans have got a lot to play with, considering they were talking about it for about an hour.
I'm very salty that they got more stuff to play with than that non-Final Fantasy fans did.
And I also think Square Enix seem to be suffering from the fact that they've lost Hitman now. Like, IO Interactive and moved on. Like, they could have also had Hitman 3 to show, but nope.
Oh, well.
Yeah. So, and finally, to finish off E3, we had Nintendo.
But this was, I thought, quite a good one as well, actually. It's probably like, I don't know, I'm tempted to say like second.
Yeah.
With Microsoft being first.
Yeah.
Nintendo have their fan base, and they know what their fans want, and they just release whatever they want. Whatever you ask for, they will release. And
exactly.
I think that's why they kind of like hit the nail on the head like every year. They just know.
Absolutely.
So what were you guys looking forward to?
Well, yeah, this is a real crowd pleaser one. They had 2 new Smash Bros. Characters, and like you said, Jess, like they just know what the fans want.
Exactly.
And because they started with the Dragon Quest 11 character, the hero, which is kind of like everyone was kind of like, oh, that's kind of cool. But then they only went and announced Banjo-Kazooie, which was amazing. Yeah. And they even did the trailer where they baited you and made you think how they're not going to have Banjo-Kazooie, but they did.
It's not Crash Bandicoot, though.
All right, that was a bit annoying. But it was just like, oh my God. I was in a group call with that, and everyone was just like screaming. I was so hyped. Yeah, they know that that's what people want. And yeah,
Animal Crossing. And
of course, yeah, HK will agree with me on this. Animal Crossing. We finally got a trailer and a release date. It's coming out not this year now, which is a bit annoying, but it's coming out. Was it April?
April 2020.
Oh no, March 2020. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry, March 2020.
Yeah.
Oh, that looks so good. I love Animal Crossing. We had some more Pokemon content.
Which one was that?
Sword and Shield.
Because we got some new Pokemon as well, didn't we? Yeah,
yes.
The Corgi, which I know you don't like.
Yamper is overrated.
No, you're wrong.
Yamper is cute, but still overrated.
No, you're very wrong.
Yeah.
And dumb and colourful.
It's been a very British year for video games.
It really has been a very British
Everyone's
year.
jumping on board. They want to sell it in the UK now.
Because Brexit.
Yeah. We had Forza last year. I think maybe they're jumping on board before Brexit, get this over with.
But yeah, with Animal Crossing, it's like proper different from what anyone was expecting and what the previous ones have been, because the previous ones have pretty much been the same formula but adding more stuff every time. Like it's gone from you start in a town and you can make friends and build and like decorate your house. Now it's like then you become mayor, but now it's very much like, oh, you get a whole island to yourself and you can decorate everything. You put furniture outside, you can play, and you can have 8 people in your town at once. I mean, actually, I was watching it with my brother, and he was like a bit concerned that it's going to be like Minecraft, Animal Crossing. But I don't know. I trust Nintendo with this. I think they know what the fans want. They know that they do. And I was a bit worried. Oh, is it going to be like too online based? Will it only be fun if you've got your people there? But no, I think they're allowing people a lot more creativity with this one. So I think that will make it really fun and single player.
And there is a lot of versatility to be had using the Switch. And I think, that's I mean, I think with handheld consoles, that's where Animal Crossing really has its strengths, because it allows people to interact with their friends more directly. And that's what all Animal Crossing is all about. You get to show off the town that you've been crafting for months on end, getting no sleep as you perfect it to your friends, and then have your soul crushed when they say, yeah.
And they finally realised that, 'cause, I mean, this is for like the real Animal Crossing fans out there, how annoying it was when you're trying to decorate a town, you put the tiles down, but the tiles were these like ugly like square things, and you're trying your best to make them look good. Well, now like they have like more curves to them, and you can like make paths in the town, and that's a really nerdy thing to be excited about, but I'm excited for it.
Until they have signs that tell animals not to walk through the flowers or the grass.
And don't build your home there.
Exactly. But there we are.
But yeah, I really like Nintendo's. Yeah, that was a good one. Also, they had to make a Doug Bowser joke as they started as well. They're just so goofy. I love it. I missed Reggie a bit, but I think Doug Bowser he filled the shoes quite well.
Yeah. So we did miss a few games. So Elden Ring was shown during it wasn't shown. We had a little trailer. From Software, really good at making these like awesome epic trailers. So basically, Elden Ring, rumor has it it's set in a kind of like Nordic thing, and it's going to be open world apparently.
So like Skyrim.
Yeah, but its main selling point is that it's been written by George R.R. Martin, writer of Game of Thrones, which is, I think if George R.R. Martin was to write anything, it would be a From Software game, because From Software games have are so like rooted in with like all this like intricate backstory which you kind of like learn about as you play it, that I think George R.R. Martin is like perfect for it, because he does the exact same thing in his novels, and it's infuriating as well as like really intriguing.
Well, you're never getting that next Game of Thrones book.
No, we're not. I've accepted that now. You know what? We're never going to get it.
No, he's probably going to die before he manages to finish this game.
But they'll probably hire another person to just write the books after him, so
maybe the showrunners of season 8.
Oh no. George, please.
Another game that we didn't really talk about, there was during the PC gaming show. We saw another trailer for Shenmue, which I think me and 2 other people are excited for at this point. But I mean, that's a bit of a weird story, which I don't think a lot of people know about. It was announced about 3 years ago at E3, and that was one of the biggest ones that year because they announced it's going to be crowdfunded, and I think in 24 hours they made $1 million. Because the original Shenmue were released for Dreamcast back in I think the last one came out in 2001, so it was pretty much accepted we're never getting a sequel. But they announced it made loads of money on a Kickstarter. I think in the end it ended up making over 5 million.
The fact that it's being crowdfunded does sound a few alarm bells for me, because we all remember what happened to Star Citizen.
And those alarm bells, they're only getting louder, I think. I'm still looking forward to it. I mean, it's been I think it's been in somewhat development hell, because I think it's quite a small team working on it with crowdfunded money, so it's not going to be the most consistent and well structured development. But we hadn't heard anything. We had a really short cinematic trailer, but now we've finally seen some gameplay, so it looks a little bit better. But then they also announced, when everyone was kind of oh, okay, maybe it isn't going to be that terrible, they then announced it as a Epic Store exclusive, which people aren't a big fan of. I'm not a PC gamer, so I don't know the full story there, but they promised it on Steam to their Kickstarters and then went back on that. So so far that's the only promise they've gone back on, I think. But so that's not terrible, but it still doesn't set a good precedent. So really. And then they also at the Limited Games conference, which was bizarre.
Oh no.
They announced a collector's edition where you get the game and also a lot of merch, like a dragon's mirror from the game, stickers, a lamp. So, but I think Kickstarters are a bit annoyed, because it is as part of one of the tier rewards. It might be a $60 one. You get a copy of the game, and these people are a bit annoyed that they can't upgrade to get this collector's edition. They would have to buy the game twice with the collector's edition and their Kickstarter copy that they already got. So, yeah, that's the Shenmue 3 controversy. We got a release date which will probably be pushed back again anyway. HK, do you mind checking that for me? Shenmue 3 release date?
I can, yes.
I think it's this year, but I don't want to confirm that.
Did we actually hear anything about Star Citizen? Have we heard anything about Star Citizen?
What is Star Citizen?
It was pitched a few years ago as this really advanced game with really advanced physics and everything, and it's largely crowdfunded. It's been in development for about 6 years now.
Oh, I think I've heard about this, yeah.
And we've been, and there are lots of controversies. They've made about $21 million in crowdfunded money, and there's still nothing on it. It's you've had all this money and you've had all this time, guys. What's going on?
Yeah, I think the problem is, like Rhiannon said, these tend to be very small companies that start these Kickstarters because they must be, because they're having to crowdfund to get the money for it. And then I think when they generate so much money, they realize, hold on, we can't just make what we plan to do with because we've got so much. And maybe they try to expand their company, or they try to take on more technology or stuff like that.
Yeah, I think that's definitely what happens. I think they realise, oh my god, there's so many possibilities of this.
Yeah.
But then they realise, oh my god, we need more crowdfunded money just to maintain all this. And then they think, oh, it's going to take longer than we predicted, so we need even more crowdfunded money. So, yeah, and of course with crowdfunded money, it's easier to just turn away and scrap the whole thing and never talk about it again. Whereas when you're making a game, for example, Obsidian couldn't do that with Microsoft with the Outer Worlds, because it's Microsoft would probably sue them and be you've just taken our money and not produced a game with it. So.
Yeah.
Shenmue 3 comes out November 19th, 2019.
And I am looking forward to the next pushback for that release date.
I feel like we should talk about limited run games because that was an experience. So I was really confused when I saw this. I was like, what's limited run games? Because they had their own conference, along with the big shots like Square Enix and Microsoft.
What are limited run games? So are they games that you can only buy for a certain amount of time?
See, that was the question I asked when I saw they were doing a conference. And as far as I'm aware, I think they're a company that re-release old games as collector's editions on current consoles.
Yeah, it's not just old games. It's basically both old games that like you can't buy anymore unless you find it on eBay for like £100, or like games that are currently like e-store only, so you can't get a physical version. Like for example, Night in the Woods was the big one. That game you can only get on virtual stores, but they've released a physical version because, as we've seen, you know, having it just on an e-store isn't always the best thing, because with Telltale recently, they've taken all their games off e-stores. So now the only way to get it would be a physical release. And if a game doesn't have a physical release, then it's like, what do you do? Like with the Scott Pilgrim game, for example, that was digital only. And then when that got taken off the store, it's like no one could buy it. And any Xbox that had it downloaded was going for a lot of money online. So.
Yeah, see, when I visited the store, they seemed to have like kind of like a mission to keep physical copies of games like in fashion, because obviously a lot of people are moving on to digital now. I don't see the appeal in it, to be honest, because I like having the game in my hands, knowing that I own it and it's not on some like imaginary cloud system that's like that could like become unstable and I'd lose everything. But yeah, they seem to have that mission, and the conference was weird. It was like it looked like some kind of like low budget thing where it wasn't a proper conference. They had like it was like, it looked like it was filmed in the 90s, and the guy on stage was like edited in onto stage. And it would like pan round to the audience, and the audience was full up with like cardboard cutouts of people, with like the odd few like real people like standing up and clapping. I think it was supposed to make fun of gaming companies that hire out audience members to like fill seats. I think that was what they were trying to do, and they were like,
it was quite funny,
they like weren't taking themselves very seriously. I think they knew they wouldn't get that many people sitting down to watch them.
But even though that did making fun of it in that way does feel a little bit on the nose.
Yeah. So they did that, and then it was like, I think they were just making fun of themselves. They were using bad CGI to like convert the guy onto like a Switch when they were announcing all the Switch games and stuff they were doing, and it was just weird because it started off with the guy on stage, then it went to what games they'd be releasing, and it was just like one after the other of about 50 or so games. And we write for a magazine called Game Luster, so we were in like a meeting at this moment because we were watching it, you know, deciding what to write about. That was very difficult when you were getting like 50 or so games like flashing in front of you. We were like, where do we start with this?
By the 20th, we were just like, forget it, we'll just write about the big ones. So I think we only wrote about the like the limited edition Shenmue 3, and what was the other one?
They announced a collector's edition of all the classic Star Wars games. Now, I got really excited when they released this because I thought they were going to do all of it like on one disc, which they could do because it's a Blu-ray disc, and they're very old games and they won't take much space at all.
And they have done something similar before, because you had that disc where you had Star Wars Empire at War, then Jedi Knight and Star Wars The Old Republic all on one disc.
And also because Lego Star Wars is just in that thing where they're releasing all 9 games on one disc. So I think they could manage doing Star Wars TIE Fighter and Star Wars Bounty Hunter on the same disc.
Oh, Star Wars Bounty Hunter was so fun.
Yeah, but I'm glad you think that, because the first one of these is going to be Star Wars Bounty Hunter on the PS4, and some of them are being released on PS4 and Switch. I was a bit confused, to be honest. That's going to be the first of many. I don't think it's on the store just yet, so I don't know how much it's going to be.
That's the thing, yeah, because obviously a lot of people are irritated to find out they're all going to be separate releases. I mean, I assume the really old, like, I think SNES ones they've shown, they are going to have to be on like a same disc. No one's going to buy a disc with something that's in like 8-bit or something, or 16-bit. So but yeah, the price is gonna be, it could be controversial. If a Bounty Hunter, it's like anything above £40. So.
When you can buy a copy of it for the PlayStation 2 on eBay for like £1.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, so that's gonna be weird. I'm gonna wait until we've got more news on that to have a rant about it. So yeah, that was disappointing when I found it, because I would have been interested if you could just buy the one disc and have them all on there. Otherwise, you can just like get them on PC or whatever. So yeah, that was interesting, and I think that was it for E3.
Ooh, there was one more conference, which was bizarre. I didn't actually watch it live. I only watched it like right now, as we were getting ready for this podcast, and it was Devolver Digital. I'm not sure if you guys saw it, but
the name doesn't ring a bell.
They've made the only one I recognised was Hotline Miami, and yeah, so that was, I think they've got a reputation. I didn't watch E3 often, but they've got a reputation for just doing really bonkers E3 conferences. They don't even like E3, I think. When I searched that, when I was trying to find the conference, there was an interview they did, I think, about yesterday, where they called E3 a special kind of torture. So they're not a fan of E3, and it kind of shows of this because they just use it as a chance to entertain. They had a lot of. It opens with someone getting their throat ripped off. That was entertaining.
Oh.
Dear.
Then another throat got ripped off in the first 10 minutes, so 2. It's quite bloody, quite fun. And then the only announcement I saw that I thought, oh, that's kind of exciting, was the Devolver Bootleg Collection, which is for about, what was it, £3.95 with a 1% off E3 special discount right now. You can get 8 bootleg games, one of them being Hotline Miami, although they call it something else. And yeah, it looks quite fun. You can get it on Steam right now. So, but I think like the Blood and Guts was just kind of cover up for the fact that like their games were kind of like, I saw one of them and it looked kind of like average, but yeah, it was a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah. So has anybody else got anything to talk about before we wrap up?
No.
Yeah, so before we finish, I'm just going to ask you guys what you like best from this, and Cyberpunk 2077 isn't an option because I think we're all quite like riled up about that.
For me, it's a tie between Lego Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga and Outer Worlds.
Yeah?
Yeah, obviously ignoring Keanu Reeves and the fact that he might be romanceable. It's got to be Outer Worlds and probably Animal Crossing.
I think mine would probably be Elden Ring. Yeah, they're going back to the original kind of Dark Souls feel. You get to make your own RPG character and stuff, and it might be open world. So yeah, and George R.R. Martin. Is that the helm? So yeah. So for next year, I reckon we'll probably get the same lot of people again, but we'll probably have Sony and Microsoft like at each other's throats with the console.
Like the good old days.
We'll have like the Microsoft conference, and they'll announce something, and then Sony would come on and announce something better. Then Microsoft will suddenly rush on stage and be like, yeah, Xbox will do that as well.
They'll be fighting over custody of Keanu Reeves.
Yeah.
That's how you win E3.
Oh, we didn't mention the dog.
How did we know? What was he called? Bam Bam or something, wasn't he?
Yeah, so John Bernthal, I think his name is, who played the Punisher, and he was in The Walking Dead playing Shane and stuff. He's going to be in, what's it called? Ghost Recon Breakpoint?
I think that's
one of the Tom Clancy's. He's going to be in that as the main villain, and, it was kind of like a celeb-themed E3 this year. People were like, just bring out your celebs, and Ubisoft was John Bernthal, and he came out. For some reason, he brought his dog on stage, Bam Bam, and he was so cute. There was just no reason for it. I think they were doing it for the reaction.
The bad thing is, I didn't even realise that was the Punisher on stage. I was looking at the dog. I didn't realise that was the actor that plays one of my favourite Marvel characters a day afterwards.
They probably didn't plan that. They must have saw Keanu Reeves. They're like, guys, we've got to beat them somehow. John, is your dog here? And he's like, yeah, the dog's in the car. Right, get him out quick.
Oh,
so yeah, that was this year's E3. I've got to admit, it was a bit disappointing just because we didn't get much gameplay. It was just cinematic trailers all round.
I would have thought they'd finally realise that's not what we want.
Yeah, even for the games coming out like in a few months' time, we just had cinematic trailers. What is this?
I remember us having the same feelings about last year's E3. At this point, I'm convinced there's no such thing as a good E3.
Yeah, I think a lot of people have been like wondering whether E3 is actually gonna like maybe cease to happen at some point, which I don't see happening because a lot of gaming companies will use it as a way to promote their games, and I think even though without it they'd still be able to promote them, I think it's kind of like such a big event that they can't just like blink out of existence.
I mean, they invest so much money into it. I mean, I can't imagine Keanu Reeves comes cheap.
Yeah.
So, I think as long as they keep pumping money into it, we'll keep watching.
Yeah.
We'll keep getting disappointed.
So next year Sony will probably be back, and yeah, I don't think there'll be anything else, to be honest, because next year is going to be so good for games because we got Death Stranding, I always get CD Projekt Red and Cyberpunk mixed up. So Cyberpunk's coming out, Death Stranding, Last of Us 2. We've got all these games that they announced. Animal Crossing. So I'm wondering what's going to be shown next year because there is going to be nothing that people have been waiting for.
I mean, there's Dragon Age 4, but the fact that wasn't at this E3, even though EA didn't have a presence, I think that means it's pretty much. I mean, I'm getting less convinced that's even a game that's even happening anymore. Yeah. So unless if that doesn't get shown at next E3, I just don't think it's happening.
Of course, we've got Elder Scrolls and Starfield, but I don't think they'll be shown next year.
No, we're not going to get those for a while.
No,
maybe we'll finally get something to do with KOTOR 3.
Yeah. We can keep dreaming.
So if Bethesda's still in business by next year, we might maybe get a cinematic trailer or something.
They'll add like 10 more NPCs to Fallout 76. Yeah. That's my prediction.
So yeah, that was it for this year's E3 and the end of the Entertainment Room E3 special. And this is going to be the last one until October, and the last one with HK, because HK is going to Canada.
You could have me come. You could have me beam in from Canada.
No, we've already replaced you.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we hired a BTEC HK.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
He's called like MK.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
Yeah,
glad to know you value me.
Unfortunately, this is going to be the last one with HK.
Bye, everyone.
Yeah,
I'll remember you all in therapy.
Unless Rhiannon and I fail our degree and have to stay for a further year.
In which case, welcome back. Yeah. I'll just put on a Midlands accent next year and pretend to be HK.
Yeah. Cheers.
So this has been fun. This is probably the first time I've actually stayed, because remember last year I stayed up for Bethesda. This has been the first time I stayed up for every night of E3, and I am so tired.
You look tired.
Yeah, it's definitely taken its hold on me. I'm not doing that again. I probably will. HK, you can watch it properly live next year, because it won't be on 2 a.m.
Oh yeah, of course I can.
Yeah, that's gonna be good.
You.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get a promotion next year.
Yeah, and you could be in Canada as well.
Exactly.
So that should be fun for you.
Yeah. Actually, no. I'll probably be back in the UK by the time it's C3.
Oh yeah.
God damn it, we'll have you back
with
your bad Pokemon opinions.
Thanks.
Okay, so this might not be the last one with HK, unfortunately. So yeah, this has been really fun. The term starts officially on the 1st of October. We might be back before that, might not be, so it's a little bit unsure, but I follow us on Twitter. I'm going to put Rhiannon and HK's Twitter below as well, so you can keep up to date with their stuff and keep up to date with HK stuff once they've left.
And read our stuff on Game Luster.
Yes, we all write for Game Luster now. A bit of a coincidence, but these things
wonder how that
happened. Game Luster is a gaming mag. It focuses on indie games, but also writes about AAAs and stuff. And they've been covering E3 religiously. We've been watching it live.
And they're based in the US.
So we're never going to meet any of them. But...
Yeah, so
I might.
Oh, HK might.
Yeah, so I'm also going to put Game Lust's website on the bottom. Just some sort of advertisements. Just slip that in there, as well as HK and Rhiannon's sites, so you can keep up to date with their game news. And yeah, this has been fun. I did forget that Jacob is not here today because he doesn't really play
in case
games.
You haven't guessed. Yeah. No, he's been silent in the corner the whole time.
There was no FIFA this year.
Yeah, Jacob doesn't really play video games. We gave him a break. So yeah, this has been fun, and I hope to talk again soon.